All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody to another Tech Tip Tuesday. Here we are, May 10th, 2022, and it's a beautiful day in Orlando. I just landed a little bit ago, getting ready for our corporate homecoming event that's coming up here this week. So I'm in the same time zone with Jake. Yay! If you guys are brand new to Tech Tip Tuesday, you are in for a treat, because what we do here is we solve mysteries, right? Now, I'm not talking about the mysteries of the world. I'm just talking about the ones of Healy. So this is a chat-based forum. So what you guys do is put your questions in the chat, and we will unpack them live here on the call and come up with solutions, suggestions, and maybe even some tips. So my name is Ken Close. I'm a member, just like most of you guys here. I am joined by my amazing co-host, Jake Barron, Head of Operations for Americas. Hey, Jake, say hello.
Hello, everyone.
There he is. And in the background, we have Magical Fingers Anthony's tonight, right?
I believe so. Let me just double check here on the team. But yeah, we will have somebody here helping out in the chat.
Right on. So we have a customer service live rep right there in the chat that can help us in real time to solve mysteries. So I love all that. What we can't do, let me go over that real quickly, is we won't be able to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any kind of disease or disorder. So we won't be able to answer questions around what programs for this or what programs for that. But we can sure talk about how they work and certain aspects in that regard. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So I think let's get this party started. What do you think, Jake?
Let's go.
All right. So there was an email that went out. I'm sure most of you saw in regards to some updates to the server that may affect the apps. So did we get confirmation on times on that, Jake?
I'm pretty sure it's UTC, just based off of, even though we don't normally use UTC, based on the Facebook post from corporate that went out that had, the email didn't have the time zone, but the Facebook post had UTC listed, and which is, so if it's 2 p.m. UTC, that's, from what I understand, the equivalent of 10 a.m. Eastern time here. So 2 hours less of a difference than CET. So I'm gonna try to get 100% confirmation in the morning, but from what I can tell, that's the answer.
The closest answer we get. And that,
Yeah.
by the way, folks, that's going to be 7 a.m. Pacific. So just so you guys understand the time zone stuff. I know we're working with a global company here, so we really need to be able to interface with different time zones. So anyway, what's going on though? There's going to be some updates so that may affect the apps and the operation. So what that means is we've had some of these experiences in the back where you weren't able to, in the past, where you weren't able to, say, perform a sync or an update with the blue dot. Probably will not affect the pink dot unless you're a brand new member or customer just trying to get your device online, up and running. In other words, when you've loaded the apps and you're ready to download the features associated with your device. So just know that that's happening. And so anybody who's seasoned experts here, of course, some of you have been on Tech Tip Tuesday quite a while, or quite a bit. So work with your people. If it's somebody brand new, let's either get it done tonight, right? Or let's put it off in terms of, I know it's hard, but you know what? You got to plug your device in and charge it anyway. So just give it a little extra charge time on those, for those brand new people that are just getting started. And we'll try to post something verifying the times so that we don't run into snags right out of the box. You know what I mean? Anything you want to add to that, Jake?
No. Great job. Great info.
Okay. All right. So what kind of questions do we have in the chat already?
Let's see here.
Natural cycle already coming up online.
Yeah. Okay. We have a question. That they Izzy was watching the video that's available in the Academy, and it says to run stabilization daily every day until you are balanced, then stabilization solar, but only run the activation programs on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The Heal Advisor app only shows twice a week full cycle. Any thoughts? So so I did Ken and I and some of Freddie did a little bit of an overview of natural cycle, how it's used within the Heal Advisor app on last week's Healy for Beginners and Beyond. That recording is available on our Healy Americas page on YouTube. And actually, that again, maybe if you correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding from watching the videos and reading the manuals is that the stabilization program, you only run that after the session where you did an activation program, not every single day when you're not doing the point of the stabilization is after you've activated that particular meridian to stabilize it, not to run it every single day in between. So my understanding is that you would do that every Tuesday and Thursday after the activation program. So
yes, and the app, by the way, the Heal Advisor app is really good about helping you stay on schedule, because it gives you exact times. Drink water at this time, drink water at this time, and when you tap on that that line item, a little check mark appears on that line item, meaning you've completed it, right? And so the same thing when you do an activation program, you click on it and you'll see the pink tab at the bottom changes what it says in it to stabilization, right? You'll see these things actually happen. So just pay attention to those little details. And there's going to be, what shows up in that sequence for that day, those line items are going to be the things you do. So use your Heal Advisor app as your guide, because when it's linked to the proper serial number that has the natural cycle programs on it, it will automatically start the programs that are necessary for that particular line item. Right. So if it's drink water, obviously there's not a program for that. There's just you arm drinking water. Right. But if it's something else, and it's a microcurrent program, it's going to, when you click on that line item, you're able to activate that function, and the Healy will come alive. And you can, of course, remember the rules. You turn your Healy on first, turn your Healy on first, then tap on that line item, and it'll move over to the pink dot and activate that program. So just play with it. I mean, right? It's if you miss something today, it's not the end of the world. You can continue on tomorrow, but you'll get the hang of it fairly quickly.
Yeah, and that's definitely it's fairly. Also, keep in mind, actually, this was kind of tied in with the next question that we have here. It was somebody was asking, can more than one person use the natural cycle using only one Healy? So it's a very interesting question as far as how this works. And you'll notice that, of course, if you go through the Heal Advisor app, it'll give you reminders at specific times for each session. But keep in mind that particular organ meridian is active in a 2-hour window. So as far as I would understand, I don't see any reason why someone couldn't use one Healy, and then after they're done within that 2-hour window, have the other person run it as well, because you're running programs on the Pink Dot app. It's not actually necessarily tied to uploading specific data to your account or pulling from your information. So you're basically just sharing programs in the Pink Dot app, which there's no real issue with. You wouldn't have two separate things to check off within the Heal Advisor app. It would just be one at a time once both of you are done, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that.
Yeah, once you check the line item off, then it puts a completed type of little check mark there. But you will know what microcurrent program was necessary to run for you. And they're very short. They're pretty short. So you could then just turn the program on again for the person next to you or another person. And Jake's right. So the microcurrent programs, when you connect the Healy device to the person, then it's seeking resonance with that person, that body it's connected to. Or if you're using the coil, if they're allowed, if it's a coil program, it's still seeking resonance with the person that is in association with it. So like, unlike the blue dot or the resonance, there's no client assigned. It's actually doing it via the resonance of the frequencies being transmitted to that body. Does that make sense? So you could have, you just make sure that the next body that's going to run the program is connected to the device or in proximity if it's able to be run with the coil. It's going to be resonating with the closest body that it's connected to. All right.
Yeah, and also when you're doing that as well, say you checked all the boxes off and then you click skip session or next session, and of course it's going to tell you what the date of the next one. If you did it on Tuesday, it's going to show you what's coming up on Friday. And if you forgot, if you wanted to give it to someone else, oh, what program did I just run? I clicked the start activation and it took me to the Pink Dot app. I always like to take screenshots of stuff, especially if you're sharing it with somebody else, just to see, okay, this is the one that you need to run next as well. Then you can take a screenshot as well of the program that's coming up for the next session as well, because we've had one or two people here that said they accidentally skipped or hit skip session and gone on to the next one, and there's no real way to go backwards right now in the Healy Advisor app. So I always like to take screenshots in case that happens. That way, you know when you were supposed to do that particular program, and you can just run it. You won't get that reminder at that time if you accidentally skipped forward to one of the other ones, but you'll know what time to run it. So it's always good to have that. And you can also always just reference the 24-hour chart that's available on the flyer or in the video as well. And then you'll see every session, it's going to go to the next organ meridian, next one around as well. So you know what's coming up. Every one's going to be 2 hour, or that 2 hour window later. So it's just following the whole sequence there clockwise. So
the circadian rhythm, yeah, it's
yeah.
The rising and the setting of the sun, the orbiting of the planets, all that's relative to how it influences us and the meridians. And so if it shows up, and there's another question here, if it shows up in the middle of the night, you have to understand that there are organs that are turning on and off all night long. You might be sleeping, but this is a natural cycle. Our bodies do things even when we're sleeping. So if the program comes up and says to run at 2 a.m., then run it at 2 a.m., set an alarm, whatever, to do it, or not. I mean, it's kind of running on that circadian rhythm. Just take a look at that.
If it's not at a convenient time for you, there is the recommendation that it's to run the next program in that 2 hour window of when you are awake. Obviously, it's best to do it in that specific order, but of course, there's certainly times where you might not be available to do that. But.
Yeah. I'm an athlete. I'm an old school kind of trainer kind of guy. It's like, if the coach says eat dirt, we eat dirt. it's like I'm like, I'm in. Yeah. Let's do it. No, anyway, yeah, do it what fits within your wheelhouse, because if you're angry because you got up at 2 a.m., that's really defeating the purpose. So
that's going to throw you off your natural cycle for sure.
We don't want that. Yeah. All right. What else we got? That's man, we're keeping up good.
Yeah, we actually Miguel is actually going to be the one helping out in the chat today. Sorry, he's on the call now. So
hi, Miguel. Welcome.
Thanks Miguel.
For being here. Appreciate you. Appreciate you a lot. All right. So I constantly get questions. If they're not going to have one back in there, I constantly get questions if we don't have anything in the chat regarding still how to use the different modalities, the microcurrent, the coil, and now we're coming up with the MagHealy. And I'm going to tell you that, so the MagHealy, as you've heard, is still emanating a magnetic energy. But the point of this interface with Healy and the human body, the point of it is to build coherence, build resonance. And that's something that I don't think there's a lot of training. There's not a lot of talk about resonance. And we can feel it, like if you guys have ever, if you are in the athletic arena, or if you're maybe a musician or an artist, or even just someone that's really into, say, gardening or something like that. And you get into a flow, into a zone where suddenly kind of time stands still, right? The influences of the body, such as hunger or pain or discomfort, kind of go away. And you're just in this zone of peace. So that's resonance with homeostasis, right? So that's the whole point, is to try to build a resonance with the body and healing. Homeostasis equals healing, equals a state of being that is not only joyous, but also the body itself, cell by cell, is actually in the healing cycle, as opposed to the sympathetic or fight or flight cycle. So Healy uses various ways in order to build resonance within the body. And microcurrent is one, the coil is another, and so the information field, the blue dot, is another, and now MagHealy is piggybacking within that magnetic energy. So it's not a replacement. I want you guys to understand that MagHealy is not a replacement for Healy. It is an accent. Studies have shown, and Marcus revealed some study content around how the effectiveness of the MagHealy was in relation to the Healy. And these were people using the Healy. And it showed a marker of a 0.46 increase in effectiveness of the Healy when using the MagHealy. In other words, it wasn't a replacement, but it was enhancement. So the MagHealy is going to, it's similar to, say, in the athletic arena, that you are drinking plenty of good water, but also eating really good food, right? It's an enhancement to your training. So that's what the point of it is to actually improve the Healy's effectiveness. So those are the different modalities. I'm hoping you guys are starting to get an idea of what the overall Healy's purpose is. And it's really, I'm looking forward to what Marcus is going to be presenting on Friday. I hope you guys are going to be there, and Carolyn McMakin, because a lot of this is going to be around understanding this interface and how Healy is improving our healing ability. All right. Any other questions there?
We had a watch question here about some sleep data, where we'll go several days at a time without recording on the watch, then all of a sudden it'll download a few days at a time. Is this usual? So I think I'm going to look to see it. There's some FAQs that address, I believe, this type of issue in our support center as well. And if Miguel, if you have those handy, maybe put some of those tips regarding how it's recording the sleep data into the chat here too. That would be helpful for John, who had that question.
Okay, so let's see.
Okay, we had a question about, okay, this is interesting, related. Last week, both Charlie's friend and Charlie's Healy Resonance both asked us to log in for the first time in 2.5 years. Wow. When I redid my cloud account and got logged in, it only brought up about 12 or so programs, and all my resonance programs are gone. How do I get it back? Also, 2 days later, it's asking me for the master key again. Why is it doing that? So wondering, I know last week there was a minor sort of issue with the login server for some people with the Analyse app, but it could have been something related to that. But if you're able to log in again and you have that master key, as long as it was backed up at some point in the last 2.5 years, or synced to that, it should, a full sync once you get back into the Analyse app should bring any programs that you should have available on your resonance back to where things were. Ken, any other ideas on that?
Yeah, there was an experience where because the server was down, this is going to happen. This is, again, potentially what's going to happen when we when they do this other update here coming up, is the server itself is where all of your data is stored, including all the authentication for any programs that you have on your device. All that's on the server. And so you access the server via your account. Okay, in other words, if it's the pink dot, you're just scanning the serial number on the back of the hardware, the Healy hardware. If it's the blue dot, it is through that master key. And when you get logged out of the Resonance app, when you get logged out, you're going to need to have the master key. It's going to ask you either import master key, or it's going to ask you to basically create a master key, but it should say import master key because you already have it done. And then when you synchronize, so once you're logged in, you import your master key. Once you synchronize, all those programs in the database should come back. All right, so that's a process, I know, but there is a function under settings, the little wheel at the bottom right. Click on settings and go to cloud account or cloud settings, then scroll all the way to the bottom. It says full sync, and you do a full synchronization. You'll see a progress bar basically go across the screen from 0% to 100%. And then all that content should be populated back into the app. It's almost like as if the app was reduced back to beginning, right? So, and that happened. There's some updates that in some accounts were unfortunately, just not able to log back in, and customer service had to actually help get those people logged back in. So, but I think we're running fine today. I mean, there's not been any problems. Again, as we mentioned earlier at the beginning of the call, 2 p.m. UTC, AKA, I think around 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. So that's tomorrow morning. It's going to be another one of those server downtimes. So don't do anything then. Okay. Just don't do anything then. Do it today.
Yeah. And
okay.
Charlie put another comment in here about the issue with the programs not showing up, and Charlie had to actually redo the cloud account because it didn't have the master key. So any of the save data, clients, lists, that kind of thing would be gone, but the actual programs, that's not related to your cloud account. That's related to your actual serial number, which program should be on that. So again, and Miguel put the tip in there just to go to the settings and do a cloud settings and then do full sync, which should bring the programs back to where they were at least.
And when you're saying programs, I want you to differentiate. In the Blue Dot app, in the selections for doing analysis are called databases. Okay, yeah, they're programs. They're okay. You can call them whatever you want, but they're basically so you've got all the Healy programs that are a database, as well as Bot Flower or Schistler's salts or I Ching or all those different. Those are databases in which you can perform an analysis to find out what alignment tools are necessary for you. So, and when we talk about the pink dot or the microcurrent, and then we refer mostly to programs. I mean, it's tomatoes, but it's still, the content in the blue dot is all that's there, irregardless of your master key. Once you get logged in, it's all there anyway, even irregardless if you have a subscription to the specific program, because it's all available for analysis in that blue dot in the resonance. All right. What else we got here? I'm on my mobile, so I have to switch back and forth to take a look at the chat.
We're pretty caught up here. So
right on. I love it. This is like an easy night. Let's just have conversation and learn some new stuff. I mean, I love talking about the MagHealy because right now we're in the middle of a promotion to actually get discounts on the MagHealy. Any of you guys that are members within Healy, where there's a promotion going on right now where you can get discounts on purchasing the Healy when it becomes available. Anything from 25%, 50%, or even to get it free.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. And another neat thing about that is that the qualifying points for sales to qualify you for those discounts has been doubled, right? It's been extended all the way to the end of the month. It's now doubled. So any points in your volume that you're getting within your sales and your team sales, is those points have been doubled for qualifying now, not for your other bonuses, but for rank advancement bonuses, and for qualifying for these things, that's doubled. I mean, it's even making it easier to get the discount. So anyway,
keep in mind that the MagHealy promo for May, we have you qualify for the discount this month, and then you qualify again next month. So they're two separate. It runs through the end of June, but there's a cutoff at the end of May, and then another cutoff at the end of June. And then depending on the discount you earned in May, you add that to what you earned in June, and that's your final discount for you to be able to purchase the MagHealy in July. If you got the max discount in May and you qualify for the max discount in June, you got 50% plus 50%. You're getting a free MagHealy, which is amazing. It's 2,800 euro. That's a well over $3,000 incentive. So that's huge. And then if for some reason you didn't get 50% until you got the 25 and the 50, or the 12 and a half and 50, you just add those together, and it's still significant savings. So.
Yeah, they're complementary. I mean, you're not losing anything.
No.
That's great.
Okay.
Let's see. Also, we also still have the discounts for the editions, the Resonance Plus for the price of Resonance. That's still a great deal.
Yeah. Oh, we did, for those of you that didn't catch Healy for Beginners and Beyond last week, I know I did mention that we did a little segment on natural cycle, but we also did quite of a detailed segment on Healy Advisor search. So that is something that has been updated as well over the last month or two, as far as how it works, how you add programs to the calendar, and how the actual IMF calendar or schedule works within the Healy Advisor app. So definitely, if you have not checked it out and you do use search or wanted to know more details on how to use search, the most current information is on our call that we did on this past Thursday. And that's on our YouTube page at HealyAmericas.com.
Awesome. So here's an interesting question here from Tina. She's asking us to talk about the percentages of the readings for the analysis report. First I had a 10-digit reading, and then 1.23 plus 25%. How do you read and understand all that stuff? So if you're looking at the aura analysis or any of these analysis, so first of all, an analysis has a timestamp, date and timestamp. If you're talking about the percentages of the relevance, so we got to talk about which one you're looking at, the aura or the resonance. There's kind of a couple of different bits of information that are available there. In the aura scan, the numbers that you see give a percentage of relevancy. Now, I've seen some that were over 100%. Now that's kind of a, it really needs it, but 100% is the top. It's the top relevancy for you, and for, in fact, whatever that line item is called, a line item, that content is the finding. It's some percentage relevant to you in which you should focus. Okay, so then you've got a vertical line and a vertical line. There's a number in between that. This is a number between 1 and 10. This is the intensity number. 1 being very little intense, 10 being very intense in how it's interacting or affecting your life, right? Whatever this finding is. Now I'm talking about the aura scan, okay? So first you have the relevancy and percentages, then you have intensity in your life within the 2 bars, And then after that, you have what's called the dilution, or where, in fact, it's interfacing with your life, whether it's being on the mental, emotional, spiritual, or physical realm. And those are letters and numbers. And there's a chart to help decipher what those letters and numbers mean. And that's a very necessary chart. Jake, do you have that chart somewhere saved? You know, I'm talking about that dilution chart.
Yeah, I think I do. Let me look for it and I'll try to share that.
If we could put that in the chat, it's something that's very, very helpful to help decode the last section of that finding, because it really does help us understand if we're dealing with something that's on our emotional body, or our physical body, or our spiritual body, and then even help us decode whether it's how we're acting within that arena, how we're thinking within that arena, or how we're feeling. So it also gives content around I guess you might say, the intensity of that dilution. It's a dilution chart because it's actually using numbers and content from the homeopathic, or holistic numbers, and how things are diluted. Hopefully we can get that in the chart. I don't know if you can actually put a file. You can probably put a link in there, but
I'll see if I can find an actual link I can put in there. So.
Yeah. It's a little hard to explain.
Yeah.
Beth says she has a link that she can share. That would be great. Thanks, Beth. Yeah. If it's over 100% in relevancy, yeah, that's a glitch. I have seen it where the relevancy has been more than 100%. It's rare, but it's not typical. It's not supposed to be over 100%. So when we're working on things in our life, say that we're aware that, you know, we think a certain way and it's not helping us, it's not serving us. Maybe we get stressed out too quickly. We fret about stuff too much. We're aware of this. And so when these things show up in our aura scan, it's going to start really addressing it, say from the root chakra, the sacral, or maybe even the solar plexus. And you're going to see some things show up because that's our survival mechanism, those first three centers. So, but if we're aware of it, then the relevancy might be less than 100%. You know, I mean, if we're aware of it, might be in the 80s, but still, the intensity, the next number I told you about, number between 1 and 10 might be a 3, right? So it's just because we're aware of it and we're working on it. The interface that the awareness that we have, the us. I want you to, when I say the us, this is the us that's not the little voice in our head, but the awareness of that voice in our head. There's another us. There's another inner state of awareness. There's the physical exterior 3D state in which we look in the mirror and we interface with our world. Then there's that inner world of thought, right? A little inner roommate that might be having chats with you right now. And then the one that's aware of all that. There's another layer. And the better we get at interfacing with life from that layer, the better we can start seeing things objectively, right? And then be able to try to help to align those things. And here's where the aura analysis and the resonance analysis work. They are the objective observer, helping to bring content to your forefront, in your face, I guess you might say. And then you guys, I mean, we have to decide how we're going to interface with that. I've had many people say, no, that's not me. No, not true. I'm like, okay. I mean, and then a couple of days later, they come back and say, you know, it actually is true. Right?
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to go too deep on that just because it can get very deep.
Yeah. I'm just going to real quick share my screen on last week's Healy for Beginners and Beyond. We were talking about the natural cycle, of course. And let me share screen. Okay. So in in your back office in the download section. So on Thursday, when we were doing that call, we actually the Healy app manual that is in the download section was not the most current one. It was still from February. And I showed this kind of workaround to where the one for the English Healy app manual for Europe did have natural cycle already added to it. So I said, okay, you can just go change from the United States to United Kingdom, and then you can go download that. But I just was checking, and then the most recent version for anyone that's looking for, that hasn't gone through the manual related to natural cycle and wants some more detailed information, you can now get the United States English version with natural cycle in it. And this is what it looks like. You go down to page 37, there's a whole section on natural cycle. It talks about each of the individual programs, the meridians, the stabilization, and then there's some very detailed information on each of the meridians and the different times that those meridians are active here. So this is great information, kind of as we're all sort of still new to the whole natural cycle, to just go in and review.
That's great. And to get access to that, you've got to have an account, right? So there's, you can't just, I mean, you could download that document and then have it available to print out. And I like to print stuff out and make little manuals and little, binders and stuff. That's super helpful for me. But that might be a good thing to do.
Sure.
Yeah, so I like this. Gina says, so if you have a new kitten who thinks that you're a scratching post, is that why skin's coming up so high? Absolutely. I mean, think about it. The way that we're measured, by the way, folks, with Healy, the way we're measured is through the information field. It's measured on the very smallest of particles that you can think of. And that's the information field. And so it's not really it's not taking a picture of you, but it knows you. I mean, there's an information field version of you that is how do I say, that is perfect, right? That is in perfect alignment. And then as that information field content starts to slow down in vibration, and then we're able to process it through a consciousness. Think about this for a second. The consciousness is you, the awareness of you, but it's taken the content from the information field and it has to slow it down in vibration and frequency so that it can become matter. So it's the mind building the matter. The information field has the perfect version, but it's our mind that interfaces and filters that into this maybe imperfect matter, the body itself, whatever's going on, that's the matter. You follow me? So it's our mind that's the first filtering process from the perfect version. And, when your kitty's using you as a scratching post, that's having some effect on a three-dimensional you, and probably some psychological effect because it's not fun, right? Even though you love that kitty, doesn't mean it's a fun process. That learning process is still something that's catching your attention. So anyway, look at things at a bigger level, not just from what you see in the mirror, because that's really where Healy is interfacing on the electron field and even the photonic field. We're going to be talking about, Marcus is going to talk about more around water and the intracellular and extracellular water interface, and how that communications channel works. It's through light. So I don't know that we've ever bridged that subject before. We communicate and interface here via video and audio, But there's a whole nother layer that we're not even aware of that's interfacing with every cell in your body. Pretty cool. All right. What other chat stuff do we have? Thank you guys very much for being here.
There was a question about when would we use natural cycle stabilization solar. So that Healy app manual that I just showed you, if you go to your back office and download that manual and go to page 37, there's actually a part in here that talks about you're using the daily stabilization program until the stabilizing effect becomes noticeable. And there's some details as far as what that means in the manual. And then you switch to the stabilization program according to the solar cycle. And in the video, I believe it says that's after approximately 4 weeks. And that would be adjusted within the natural cycle module automatically as well. So we're not there yet. So somewhere probably end of this month, end of this month, early next month is when that would switch to the stabilization solar. Then you would run that particular stabilization program leading up until the end of this particular cycle.
Yeah. Yep.
There was a question earlier on that I just noticed here. It says, "Yikes, my Healy stopped working. Do they work on them and fix them?" So we work on them and fix them via our support center first. So any issue that you have, whether it's related to connection problem, battery problem, Bluetooth, whatever that may be, always starts with a ticket in the support center, and our tech team will troubleshoot that. We'll troubleshoot that as much as we can, and then if it's an issue that we're having trouble troubleshooting via the ticketing system, we can always reach out and schedule a Zoom call with you to help if it's a certain issue that would benefit from a Zoom call. I know Miguel was on the chat here. He spent his whole afternoon today on Zoom calls with many different people, so you may get a chance to have a Zoom call with Miguel. But if we can't fix it via troubleshooting, if we can't fix it via a Zoom call, there are certain situations where, of course, it may need to be replaced. Maybe there's something unique wrong with it. If it's within warranty, we would of course replace that for free. And if it's outside of warranty, you can also get a new Healy for $350 replacement fee approximately. And that's used in cases where outside of warranty or inside of warranty, where maybe you've lost it or dropped it in the toilet and it's no longer working, that type of thing. So we certainly work on them. We might not physically work on them at the office or the warehouse with our hands, but most of all the troubleshooting that we can do so via the support center. So.
And I would love to see when somebody says my Healy stopped working, I I say let's figure it out, because I've found maybe one that actually had some kind of a factory default or factory failure of some sort.
Mhm.
But for the most part, we can revive them. And so tech support is, where that'll come back to life and whatever's going on, it can be solved. So definitely create a support ticket.
Yep.
All right. And then I see Miguel put this, how to log into the back page or the shop page and do a support ticket. There's also, by the way, a video on the Healy Americas YouTube page. Healy, what is it? Healy Americas USA or Healy? What's the name of the YouTube page? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, HealyAmericas.com.
Yeah, HealyAmericas.com. That'll link you over to the YouTube page, and there's a video in there about how to file a support ticket. So go to there, and there's a lot of stuff. That's where the Tech Tip Tuesday recordings, the What's Up Wednesday recordings, any of the Frequencies and Friends recordings that we do in the US, that kind of stuff, it's there too. Mm-hmm. Jake has done awesome. I mean, of putting that stuff in there, that content in there, and hyperlinking everything. So there's a word. If you click on a little drop down arrow under the video, then there'll be a long line of content with a description and a little number in blue. That's actually a hyperlink. You click on that, it'll take you right to the part of the video that addresses that particular content. So super useful. And you could even copy and paste that one little piece of content to somebody else who's having a problem. You know, they don't have to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Super useful.
We have a few questions, a couple more questions on natural cycle here. Some of the people here where they skipped, thinking they were skipping to the next program, but they actually skipped to the next session, or they skipped further part, or they deleted the Healy app. And now if you go back and download it now, it's taking you to the June 21st start date as well. And wondering if there's any way to go back. So we were actually talking with our tech team in the office today, and as far as we can tell, there's not a way to go back the way it's currently built within the Healy Advisor module. So we're actually reaching out to the product development team to see if there's something that might be addressed in a future update, to see if we can kind of make that a little bit more user friendly. But like I said earlier, it's a little bit of a manual backup of taking those screenshots. And if you know that you started with the kidney meridian on the 5th of May, and that was between the 5 to 7 p.m. 2-hour window, the next ones are all just going to go around in a circle. The next session, which was Friday, was the next meridian, and then the one on Tuesday, the next meridian, the one on next Friday, the next meridian. So if for some reason it did get messed up, there is a way for you to go back, or you can really you can follow along manually if you really wanted to.
Yeah, you could. Uh-oh, Jake, did I lose you or you lose me? Kind of frozen in time, or is that my frozen in time? We lost Jake.
I'm back.
There he is.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. I was off the natural cycle, I guess.
You were off in the solar system.
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay, so let's see what else we got. Are you frozen again, Jake? I think he's frozen again.
Let's see.
Your video is frozen, but I can still hear you. Let's see. Well, I don't see any new questions in here. Thank you guys for the kudos, by the way. Appreciate that. That's always nice to hear. The improvements, and I bet you guys would agree with me that there's been a lot of improvements since when you first started with Healy versus today. And so again, the natural cycle protocol, that whole module, is going to get refined. Your feedback right here, by the way, these chats are looked at, and we have customer service interfacing right now. And so this is content that goes, into further developments and improvements. So it's great that you guys are putting these things in the chat, and then we can unpack those. But not just that. Every time you also submit a customer service ticket, that's for analysis as well. So so make sure, and when you do a customer service ticket, that you put as much content and details in there as you can. So screenshots, as Jake said earlier, screenshots are very useful. Understanding what versions of hardware and software you're using, what operating system are you on? Are you on, of course, the iOS or the Apple products, or are you on Android? And even in the ticket system, as you're filling out the content and you get those drop-down windows, it's giving more and more, it's asking more and more questions. So in other words, to get better clarity as to what hardware and software you're using, so that the analysis and the evaluation can be more specific. So use that system. Let's see.
I think I'm back. Can you?
I hear you.
Okay. Well, I see, I got cut off in the natural cycle, but I see there's some more questions about natural cycle. And there was a question about if we miss the first 2 days, can we run two programs in a row or two in a day to catch up? And Pam put a good comment in here. She said, mentioned it was just her opinion, but it's definitely best to skip whatever the present program would be to get caught up. You're not going to run 3 in a day just to get caught up. The point is to run that particular one at that specific time in that session and then go from there. So if you're doing that, just go to what the next session is going to be and then continue on from there. So it's not really
that's a very good point, because remember, the circadian rhythm continues to move forward, right? And we don't want to, try to be interfacing with a specific meridian or organ that is already past its activation period. I mean, it's none of this is going to hurt you. Just so you know, it's not going to hurt you. It's just, we want to maximize the effectiveness, right? We want to get the most efficiency out of this. And that just means going along this natural rhythm. So yeah, I would not go back and run, if you missed something, it's okay. You didn't have natural cycle last year and you didn't miss anything then, right? So we're just improving upon things now. Staying present is probably one of the most advantageous scenarios for healing, because how many times you worry about the past or fret about the future and you're not staying present. All right.
While I was gone for a minute or two, did we address or answer this question about is there a reason why you would hold the Healy in the right hand versus the left?
Yeah, no, we did not get to that one.
Okay. And I guess the question was, what happens if you put it in your left hand because you have to use your right hand for something for a few minutes? So
I love these details, honestly, because I mean, the company is going to write specifics so that everybody has proper instruction, right? And that's a great analogy. What if you're left-handed versus right-handed? What if, like I said, what if you got something in one hand and you don't have it? The Healy is trying to get you to be present, which is exactly what I was just speaking about. So when you place your finger on the screen to do an analysis, the point of that is not to take your fingerprint for any privacy thing, or you're not taking a fingerprint. It's got a little picture of a fingerprint to drive behavior, so that your behavior will be to put the finger on that spot. And it's not very big, so you actually have to look at it so you can hit the spot, right? And that means that your awareness is right there. So you're being present with the interface of the program, instead of worrying about what you're going to have for dinner, or, oh, whose dog is that barking, or whatever it is. You're off in some other land. You're not being present with yourself or being present with the program. So the same thing with Healy, holding it in your right hand. You could put it on your forehead. I mean, honestly, it's the intention. It's the intention. You're staying present with it. That's the most important thing when we're looking at finding resonance and finding alignments, is that we don't have all this other baggage in the way, aka thought or distraction, which is what probably got us to the discomfort in the first place, right? Does that make sense? You want to add anything to that, Jake?
No, I was going to say, if you're doing, say you're recording the vibration, doing the scan or whatever, and you say you needed to switch hands, I would say whatever you're doing, you shouldn't be doing anything else that requires the other hand at the same time, like you just mentioned, Ken, as far as being present. So, and if you're actually running the program, running the vibration, at that point, you don't need to be holding it in your right hand while you're actually running the program or vibration necessarily. So, because yeah, you could be there I would understand at that point for sure, if you're there for an hour or however many minutes that you're running it, then yeah, you might be switching it. But once you've gone through the recording the vibration and doing the scan, at that point, it doesn't have to be in your right hand the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. What's the point of holding your hand? It's taking a very specific reading of the resonance of its environment, which is you. And so if you are with the other hand making dinner or petting the dog or anything you're doing is more than you should be doing. I like what Jake said very kindly. I'm a little bit more just, a little bit more specific. Like, stop doing anything else. That's my point. That's the point here. You don't want to be doing anything else. This is for you. That analysis is for you to align you. And if you're constantly doing something or multitasking, I'm sorry, everybody thinks that you might be great at multitasking. I will have that conversation with you from a neuroscience perspective and tell you that you're not good at all of them. We have a very specific bandwidth. So just do yourself a favor, stop multitasking, and pick a moment in which you don't have to do anything with the other hand and you can just be present with the analysis. That's going to be most effective. Okay.
A couple more minutes left. 3 more minutes. So
3 more minutes. Multitasking can be done. So Tom, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm going to give you a little science background right now. Thank you for the opportunity. 400 billion bits of information per second going through your reticular activating system. This is neuroscience. And you, as a consciousness, are aware of 2,000. So 400 billion versus 2,000. So there's a certain amount of information you're aware of in the conscious mind. The rest is subconscious content. And so as we focus on that 2,000 bit, maybe we're having a conversation right now that consumes about 12 to 1,300 bits. So having 2 conversations simultaneously, there's no bandwidth for that. So you're switching back and forth to try to interface between the 2 conversations. I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying the efficiency of the utilization of that bandwidth is sacrificed or fractured. So, and people get good at fracturing that particular awareness. It doesn't mean that the body is healing because of it. My whole part of life in terms of epigenetics is what state is my body in? Am I in rest and repair, or am I in the fight or flight? One serves my cellular structure, the other does not. In short term, it's okay, but most people are in that 70 to 80% of their day. That's not advantageous for healing. Okay. Any other questions that we need to chat?
There was a question about someone was wanting to do a full sync before tomorrow, but they're stuck at 3. They've been stuck at 3% for about 30 minutes now. Is that okay? And if not, can they just get out and then wait to try to do a sync again until after the updates that start tomorrow?
Yeah, you can end that update. I would end it and then try it again just to see if it, and maybe even 2 more times. So just first check your bandwidth with your Wi-Fi or now how do you do that? I would just give this a little test drive, okay? Before you do it again, shut it down now, but go and turn your router off for a second and then back on, let it reset, recalibrate, and then go and try your sync again and give it a try and maybe try it twice, because it's funny how it gets locked up and you do it one more time and just zips right through. It's interesting how that interface works. And Tom, you're right on, by the way, you're not really multitasking, you're switching. I like your comment in there, and that's so true. So true. Okay. What are we at? We're at the hour. We're at the top of the hour.
We are, yeah.
Okay. Well, hey guys, thank you so much. Anything else you want to close with, Jake?
No, we're looking forward to seeing, a good number of you, Ken, and a lot of you other rest of you here in Orlando the next couple of days. So we've got lots of surprises in store. So it's gonna be a great time.
And there's going to be more coming, folks. Just know that that Marcus and the team are doing studies. They're doing content to really validate what we're talking about right here, and really building some very tangible content that we can play with. And I'm super excited about that because of my sciencey brain, and I imagine you guys might dig it too. So stick with us. Come and see us again next week. We will be here to support you always. And for now, thanks a lot for being here, guys, and we'll see you again on the next one. Bye for now.
Thank you.